Hi, this is Rock Antenne. Thomas Moser here with Justin Sullivan from New Model Army, and we're going to talk about lots of things, especially about the new record, Winter. Well, thanks for being here again. Just a quick reminder.
Apparently, I have been here before.
Yeah. It's been a long time, though, to be honest, and it's nice to have you back. The first time you were here, I was not really sure if you're the kind of guy who likes to do interviews and all, the stuff you have to do in order to promote the new record. But apparently, I think you did. you felt quite all right.
I'm not sure about interviews. To me, it's just like talking to people. It's like having a conversation in the lift of the hotel. It's all right. It's okay.
That's good.
I once went to America and I was given a lesson in how to do interviews properly, and you have to remember to talk about the product and how to do it. But it's not like that. It's just like talking to people.
Yeah, that's true. Usually they tell you to lower your voice after a sentence so we can cut it on the radio. So once you've done your statement, you're done with your statement, you should go down with your voice so we don't have to cling on. Anyway, they didn't tell you that. It's amazing.
No, but that's interesting. Like that. Is that what you're meant to do? So then you can cut.
Yeah, exactly. See, so he's already smiling.
Right, so the 20-minute conversation, well, no, we're going to talk here for 2 hours about the world and music and everything, and then you're going to make it into 2.5 minutes.
That's a frightening business, isn't it? I know. But we're going to do... We do have a section where we send out and broadcast the interview as a whole. That happens, and it's uncensored, uncut, anything. So,
okay. Making a record, you record hours and hours and hours of music, and then you take the best.
Yeah, I know
the best minutes.
We're talking about records.
Tell you about the record. The record is I'm not sure if it's the 13th or the 16th. It depends how you count them.
Yeah.
It's a New Model Army record. I think everything that we always do is a kind of reaction to what went before.
Yeah.
So we did 3 years ago. We did Between Dog and Wolf, where we decided to do a really beautiful and sophisticated studio record, and we built it. We built it like a sort of like building a cathedral.
Yeah.
And then we always planned to go to one of the world's greatest mixers to mix it. So we went to Joe Barresi in Los Angeles, and he did a beautiful job, and it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And then this time we thought, well, and then we did it, kind of repeated the trick with Between Wine and Blood. And then we thought, well, we've done that. Now let's do the opposite, which is kind of what we're always like. Let's make an album which is everything is up front. It's all recorded kind of live. It's a band, a very loud band in a very small room, and something that's just really emotionally intense and quite rough. And that was the idea, I think.
I think people already appreciate, this take that you did, because it sounds rough, it sounds edgier, but it also, for me, it was a surprise that it came out so fast. I thought it's going to be another year till the new Model Army record would, appear, but bang, it's here.
We're in a good place as a band at the moment. I think. We went through a few changes and stuff, and the current 5-piece, we're very balanced. Kerry's arrival on bass has been very good for us, because he's very young and very unstuck. I think that what happens, I can't imagine being in a band where with the same 4 or 5 people for year after year after year, because I think what happens is you work out the areas of conflict and you don't go there, which means that you turn in smaller and smaller and smaller circles.
I can only think about I can only think of you two, actually, as a matter of fact. There's a band that's been together for ages like this.
But it does turn in a way in smaller and smaller circles. Something. With us, what happens is every 5 or 10 years, somebody new joins, and one new person in the band changes all the dynamics. So all the relationships in the band change. So it's like being in a new band. One new person does that. It's like being in a new band. And everything changes. Everything's blown open again. You kind of start again. That's what it feels like. So, Kerry's arrival's been very... Marshall before, and then Kerry. It's been very good for us, I think.
So you never want to be on the comfortable side of the whole thing, you know, being familiar with everybody. Because as you said, you know, it starts again and again and again. You have to start again and again and again.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
that's good. And people people sometimes make the mistake of thinking, because, you know, I'm the only original member. Well, I was the only original member by 1985. But so it must be sort of Justin Sullivan and some musicians. But it's not that. We still operate absolutely like a band. We still fight like a band. We argue like a band. You know, fall out like a band, make exciting records like a band.
What about the songwriting? I saw, you know, there's not only you being credited in there, but you know,
it's always been different, you know, collaborators. I mean, I write all the words, but musically we always collaborate. And with New Model Army, we often start with drums.
Yeah.
Songwriting starts with drums. I say this to other songwriters. They said, "How can you start with the drums?" I go, it's natural to me to start with drums. That's
why. No, hang on. You start with the drums, or do you start with the lyrics?
Start with drums. Actually, the way we work is that we have two cupboards, and into one cupboard goes musical ideas, which is some chords, a melody, a bass riff, a bit of a jam, ideas from anyone in the band.
Yeah.
But especially drum beats. When we start making an album, Michael usually records 20, 30 beats, which we then loop and have in the musical ideas cupboard. And then in the other cupboard, I've got, like all writers, I've always got a notebook with me. So I've got lots and lots of stuff I want to write about, you know. So you have to wait till both the cupboards are full. And the mistake is to start on an album before they're full, because then you run out of ideas, then you're scratching your head in the studio, and this is a disaster. We did this in the 90s, and we learned from that mistake. So you wait till the cupboards are full, and then you pull out something, you pull out a drum beat, and then, oh, what else have we got? There's that chord sequence, and oh, those lyrics, and you write something, and it's always rubbish, so you throw that away, and then you try something else. And you keep pulling ideas out, and then after a little while things start to stick, and then what happens is your head just fills with music and music and music and music, and then in the middle of an album then writing becomes easy. You're thinking of new ideas as well as using, but in the background there's all these stored ideas. It's
amazing that you talk so much about, you know, this, you know, copy and paste in your mind, and when you put together the music, because when you listen to songs of New Model Army, it sounds natural.
But it's natural. It's natural. You hear something in your head, and that's where you go. But you start. But it's good to have lots of ideas sitting there. So if you get stuck, there's lots of ideas.
Well, you got lots of ideas in your lyrics, once again, and some of them seem to be quite, you know, temporary, according to what happened in the world and what was going on, I guess.
I don't try to write about what's happening in the world, but I'm sort of watching what's happening in the world. So inevitably, I write about it.
Yeah, there's a song on Part the Waters.
Part the Waters and Die Trying. Die Trying was almost a song that I almost tried not to write, because we've written about refugees before quite a lot. But my girlfriend lives in France, so I spend a lot of time going through Calais. And you know, watch the jungle grow up and be knocked down, and grow up and be knocked down, and grow up and be knocked down. And it was impossible not to write the song. And then Part the Waters, same principle. I think quite often that it's useful to use old stories. The Bible's great for this, because the Bible's got a whole load of folk stories that people generally know, and grim fairy stories. You can use these, or Greek mythology, or you know, these kind of stories that everybody knows. This is our sort of common culture. And then you can take a story and you can twist it or use it. And so on Part the Waters, kind of using Moses, only just to. It's a quick sort of reminder to everybody that the movement of people is very old. It always has happened. It will always happen. This is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah. Absolutely. Why at the end you turn out to call the record Winter?
I think Winter was about the second or third song we wrote, and it just felt like the right title. And I like the song. It's almost as if for many years we've been writing about the feeling of uneasiness that things are not going in the right direction, and there's something's coming, like a wave is coming. And in winter, in the song, it's almost as if I read somewhere this phrase which I stole, which is the age of consequence, which I kind of like this idea. We're sort of entering the age of consequence in many different ways, and then the song is almost an attempt to look beyond it. You know, after. After. I fear the age of consequence. I wish it was over. Bring me what's after.
Okay.
And there's also a song, Eyes Get Used to the Darkness, where the last line is, maybe out beyond the blackest storms we'll see the furthest stars. It's like knowing there's sort of storms coming and kind of looking beyond it.
Yeah, happy you.
It's not a happy record, what can I say? You know, these are not terribly happy times in the world in lots of different ways. And also, I think it reflects on some of the personal things happening around the band as well, that I don't really want to talk about. But then again, happy artists don't usually make very good music. I mean, it's kind of nice. Sometimes you find artists that they grow older and they find peace in their lives, which is very nice for them, but it doesn't make great music.
That's exactly
I have to say that, you know, you take the collective members of New Model Army, none of us have found peace and resolve. We're still out there, still sort of getting lost.
Yeah, it's good. That's actually you're right. I think the same. It's kind of hard for me to, you know, for old bands too, to keep up with their records when they were young. It's almost impossible. But anyway, I sit really uncomfortable in this chair. I cannot, you know, I can't sit like this. You know, I'm like, oh, damn. I feel like, you know, I have to do this, and it looks intellectual. I'm not even intellectual. I hate that. Okay.
It's your seat. You should be used to it by now.
Oh, damn. I just hate it.
I'm definitely finding it all right.
There's something that I found out. I was driving along. I was listening to Thunder and Constellation, and then I heard 225. And I thought, like, there's a line in there which says, you know, in this golden age of communication, means everyone talks at the same time. You wrote that 27 years ago, you know, but now this is the time where everybody's talking at the same time, I think.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes realize how the bits and pieces of lyrics that become timeless in their own way?
Well, all the time. There's with Winter, we finished the album really in sort of February, March this year, and then I didn't listen to it again for a bit. I didn't want to listen to it for a little while, and I put it on the day after Brexit, and I went. And there's a couple of lines. There's one line that I'm out the door before I had a chance to think, my God, what have I done? And I thought, oh yeah. And lots of lyrics come back. But I think one of the things about being an artist, which sounds a bit pretentious, but is that we're very privileged because what we do is we have time to think. Most people have to get up really early in the morning, get the kids ready for school, go to work, come back, very tired after work, make some food, put the kids to bed, try to do family things, watch a bit of television, tired. People don't, in their lives these days, have much time to think.
Can you please describe my life once again? This is exactly what...
Yeah, well, the privilege that we have is that we have time. So when you know, we spend a lot of time looking out of the windows of moving vehicles. Actually, this is my favourite way to think, you know, looking out of moving windows, or just generally making a record, and you've got time to sit and think about what is it you want to say, and then you think, and as you think, then things become clear, so you can write about stuff perhaps from a sort of clear point of view, simply because you have time to think.
Happy you again. But, you know, you being traveling all the time, you know, being in all sorts of different places. I mean, I think you're still located in England, you know, where your base is, but do you actually care about Brexit? Do you actually, because, or you're never home anyway? I mean, what does it matter?
Do I care about it? Yeah. Does anybody know what's going to happen? No. No one's, you know. I think what's really going to happen is that lots of lawyers trade speciality lawyers are going to get very rich for the next 10 years while they work out some kind of fudge compromise thing to make it all, I don't know. You know, nothing's actually happened yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing's changed. But I don't like the idea. I think the idea is wrong.
Okay.
And the idea is driven by the same kind of right-wing demagoguery that's everywhere. Yeah, blame someone else. Actually, most of the problems in Britain you can blame on our governments for the last 20, 30 years. The fact that the country's kind of falling apart, you know, is the policy of successive Conservative and then one new Labour government.
Does money matter to you at all?
Money?
Yeah.
What, from a personal point of view? No, again, so privilege. You know, as long as, you know, we've been doing this for, well, I've been doing this 36, 37 years or something. Yeah. Last time I looked in my fridge, there was food in it. This is kind of all that matters, really. You know, let's make the next record. Let's go and play another concert.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because I bought that shirt last year, last tour in Memmingen, somewhere, you know, just went there. And not only did I find this shirt, which I was kind of surprised, you know, with the motive and because it's Thunder and Consolation and everything, but they gave it to me in a new Model Army plastic bag. I was like, I wonder if this would have happened in the 80s. You know, like, nice. I like it because I'm a collector, you know.
The reason for the plastic bag is just down the road from where we live in Bradford. There's a factory that make biodegradable plastic bags. And I was talking to the guy that runs this factory, and he was telling me about what they make. And I thought, biodegradable plastic, we'll make some just for fun. That's the reason.
There was no criticism. I was just surprised, actually. Oh, it was really good. You're going on tour again in fall. A big one yet again. But it seems that, you know, over the years, it seems that Germany is a huge stronghold for New Model Army, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and we always did well in Germany. I think there's. I've had time to think about this. Why is this? I think I can think of 2 or 3 reasons actually. Yeah. One is that you don't have a centralised media. In England and some extent, you know, France and places, you know, 4 people meet in a pub in London, and they decide what the country's going to hear and what the country's going to think is cool. Yeah. And it's a very dictatorial, centralised media system. Now you don't have that in Germany because you have all these different regions which have their own media. Yeah. And I think this means that German culture is much wider and broader and open to more things. Less worried about what's cool, more interested in just what do you like? Oh, I like this. All right, you can have that. Well, I like this. Well, you can have that. It's a bit. I often think music's a bit like food. There's no point in telling people what they ought to like. They just like what they like, you know. Yeah. But in Germany, you don't. We were never really a cool band, not in England, because we were far too awkward and difficult and openly emotional. Maybe that's a problem for the English anyway. Yeah. So that worked in Germany. 2, we were always a live band first, and Germans love going out and they love live music. Yeah. So that always, and there's this fantastic network of clubs, you know, small clubs to medium-sized clubs, and every small town in Germany seems to have a small club. And you know, we grew up playing all these clubs, and I think that really helped us. And then the 3rd thing, I'm going to indulge in some national stereotype here. The German character.
Watch out.
Everybody ready? I know, or maybe, you know, I know you've got to say Bavarisch character, but, you know, as part of the wider, greater German character, right? Here's a national stereotype. There is this huge contradiction between the fact that you're very direct and the language is very precise. It's a perfect language for sort of philosophy and mathematics because it's all about precision, and you make precise things like all the best technology is German. Everybody knows this, and it's this sort of precision and directness at the same time, and quite aggressive in there. At the same time, every German I've ever met is terribly romantic. This kind of terrifically romantic and in love with nature and all nature imagery and stuff. And this
romantic? What do you mean by romantic?
Huge contradiction. And the same contradiction runs through our music. And on one side, it's terribly direct and in your face and angry. At the same time, it's terribly romantic. So I think that's that kind of connected here.
Yeah. That's about right. I think I would sign on to this. You're gonna play a lot of songs from the new record, obviously, on the tour. How difficult is it for you to satisfy the needs of all those old people, such as me, to come? They'll come to the shows and they want to hear some old songs, you know.
We're not in the business of satisfying anyone. We satisfy ourselves.
I was afraid what.
Yeah, well, we don't. I mean, when we make somebody said, it's the first question when we do an album, and the interview says, how do you think the fans will feel about this album? And the answer is, we don't care. You know, we make it primarily for ourselves. We make it because we think it's good. Yeah. We put it out there, and then people come to concerts. You know, will you play Vagabonds? Well, we might, but we might not. It depends whether we want to or not. You know, it all depends. We do what we want to do, because that way you do your best. We're just going to do what we think is great.
I think I've seen you once where I thought you made a compromise, and that was the Wacken show last year where you played The Hunt. And I thought, like, oh, they're gonna play. They're playing this because of Sepultura and the cover version and everything. Correct or not correct?
Well, it's a song we do play sometimes.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So, did we play that because of Sepultura? Actually, interestingly enough, I think that the Wacken audience that we played to are much younger than that. Anyway, they probably don't. They're not that familiar with Sepultura. Yeah. So, seemed like a right song to play. I don't know. Can't remember now.
Good. Any famous last words? Because I have no more further questions, Your Honor.
Well, there aren't any last words. That would suggest that I'm never coming back. And you say I've been here before, so maybe I'll come back in 9 years and we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, well, now that you actually saw that you can fit in a whole band in here, you know, there's a challenge, you know, to come back here. Well, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
Thanks for doing this.
Rockantenne, der beste Rock nonstop.